Good afternoon. Thank you for tuning in to this, I guess kind of my attempt at a tutorial of how to improve your playing at Hearthstone. So, right here what I'm going to do, just to jump right into it, is I have a deck on the Hearthstone Reddit that is recommended for ranks to get from get through the ranks of 15 to 10. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit my already pretty decent Shaman deck, and I'm going to remove some of the useless cards and insert the cards that they recommend using in place of them. So let's see. First off, as far as cards that are just pretty useful, here, a second while it loads. Alright, so Earthshock, Lightning Bolt. 2 of those each. Great. We have a 1-cost card that deals 3 damage to any target. Combine that with the potential of having your magic damage bonus totem out using your hero power. You have a 1-cost card that deals 4 damage. If we're going turn 2, if we're the second person to play, and we have the coin, then the Lightning Bolt is a perfect. Lightning Bolt and Earthshock are both perfect early game cards. Earthshock is good for like, let's see, where is it? Earthshock is perfect for cards like Leper Gnome. So usually Leper Gnome, if your opponent plays a Leper Gnome, then obviously you don't already have a minion now, then you're going to want to kill it as soon as possible. And then even when it dies, even if you do kill it in the same turn, you're still going to take 2 damage, which is not preferable. Earthshock completely undoes that. Silence a minion, so it gets rid of this, there's an X through there, and then it kills it. So Leper Gnome, cards like Leper Gnome are great to get rid of. And then, of course, just other cards that just have 1 health. Or if you have your magic damage totem out, then it's great against cards that have just 2 health. It's great against Amani Berserker, just because it'll get it down to a 2/2, and you won't have to worry about it eventually going up to 5 attack. So yeah, lots of uses for that. Lightning Bolt, pretty much the same situation. It's only cost 1 with an overload of 1. So basically, it's a delayed 2-cost card. So you do have to consider, like if you play Lightning Bolt on turn 1, you could have problems on turn 2. But usually, if you play a Lightning Bolt anywhere after turn 2, I would say the overload is not going to hurt you that bad at all, assuming you're able to use the 3 damage to kill a minion. So let's see. These cards, Earthshock and Lightning Bolt, are recommended. And then let's see, what am I running that is not good? That's not recommended. Let's see it. Rockbiter Weapon is recommended. Stormforge Axe, which I don't have either of. I have Ironbeak Owl, Knife Juggler, and Fairy Dragon. None of those are recommended, so we're going to get rid of that, get rid of that, get rid of that. Now for the 3 cards, we have 2 Feral Spirits in the recommended deck, 2 Hexes, 1 Lightning Bolt, 1 Monotide Totem, 2 Unbound Elementals, and that's it. So let's see, what 3s do I have? Scarlet Crusader is not recommended. Harvest Golem is not recommended. We're going to get rid of that. Obviously, these decks have leeway. This deck is a little bit old at this point, and I believe that the person who founded it is no longer running it. He modified it a bit, but I'm not sure what his new deck is. So, as for 3 cards that we can get rid of, I really like Lightning Storm. It's a phenomenally powerful card. Anywhere after like turn 5, anywhere before turn 5, the overload is gonna hurt you. But I'd say anywhere after like turn 5, this is gonna be a useful card as long as you have a minion or 2 on the field. So I like to keep two of them. Maybe I'll save it for later. Okay, so is 2 fire elementals, which I do have. There's Defender of Argus, which I don't have. 2 wind speakers. Okay, wind speakers are horrible. The majority of the time, when you play a wind speaker, obviously you need a minion on the field for it to get its full effect. A minion that simply costs... Here, I'll go to it. A minion that simply costs 3/3, or excuse me, costs 4 and gives you 3 damage and 3 health. That's a horrible deal. That's an awful deal. You can look at... I should just do this. That's what it's for. Perfect example. Chillwind Yeti is a 4-cost minion with 4 attack and 5 health. So when you compare that to the Wind Speaker, who has the same cost with 1 less attack and 2 less health, that alone is a ripoff. It's a horrible ripoff. Give a friendly minion Wind Fury. This is rarely, very rarely going to be useful. What's more useful, on the other hand, is just this. Actually, let's get the golden one. Is to just give one of your minions Wind Fury. You can control when it happens. You don't have to worry about taking up a slot for a minion in your deck. Let's see. And I am running... It is recommended that you have Stormforge Axe. I do have Doomhammer, though. So I think I'm going to keep Doomhammer in place of Stormforge Axe for now. Rockbiter Weapon. 2 Rockbiter Weapons is recommended. Alright. Go ahead and take 2 of those. Let's see. What is really recommended that I don't have? 2 Gadgets and Auctioneers. 2 Argent Commanders. 2 Azure Drakes. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and... yeah, I'll do that. Gadgets and Auctioneer does make sense for this deck because it's a very, very spell-heavy deck. So I'll go ahead and do at least one of those. I'm going to keep Karen Bloodhoof because it's the same. Another comparison to Chillwind Yeti here. It's the same attack and health at being 2 more, but when it dies, it basically respawns. So for a 6-cost card, you're essentially getting 2 minions that are each 4/5. So another way of looking at it is that you get 2 minions that are 4/5, each of them cost 3. Great deal. Obviously, silencing will decrease the value of this card. It'll make it a little more expensive than what it would have been originally. And polymorph, well, polymorph is always something to worry about, but, you know, what can you do? Can't always help that. Okay, moving along here. So I'm going to get rid of Hogger. You know what? 6 cost, 4/4. At the end of your turn, summon a 2/2 null with taunt. The vast majority of the time that I've played this card, my opponents have desperately done everything in their power to get rid of it immediately, and most of the time they will have something, because it only has 4 health. It's not a great investment, so I would get rid of it. Let's see, he's got Monotide Totems. I do have one of those. 2 Unbound Elementers. Defender of Argus. Yes, that's a great card. I agree. Go ahead and put in Defender of Argus. And he does have a Nat Peggle, which I do not own. So maybe I could put in another Monotide Totem in place of Nat Peggle. At this point, I have 2 free slots, and it's just a matter of filling in what I don't have. I get rid of 1 Bloodlust. Bloodlust is really one of those cards that you only save, or that you only use when you have to plan for it. You want to have a bunch of really weak minions on the field, along with a bunch of totems. And then when you have like 3 to 5 minions on the field, you can play Bloodlust, which increases your attack value on your field by 9. depending on if you have 3 to 5 minions, your attack power on your side of the field will increase from either 9 to 12 to 15, and assuming your minions already have a small amount of damage, you can pretty much take the game into your favor in that turn, and then most likely win within the next 2 or 3 turns. Okay, so let's see here. Feral Spirit, Wild Pyromancer. Ah, there. Yes, I do like that. Once again, we have a lot... Whoops, I don't want that. We do have a lot of spell cards. Somewhat expensive. No, actually, that's not true. These are very cheap. This is cheap. These are moderate. So all of our spell cards are actually extremely cheap to affordable is the word I would use. And we do have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13, and it looks like that's all we have. 13 spells. So 13 spells is a pretty high amount. We don't really need more than that. And right now my mana curve is looking heavy in the 3 and below, which is good. So we have 19 cards that cost 3 or below, and we have 9 cards that cost more than 3. So we can afford... So our balance again is 19 low cost and 9 medium to high cost. So we have a pretty cheap deck, and he does the deck I will put in the description of the video is let's see here. Does recommend 2 gadgets and Auctioneers, 2 Argent Commanders, and 2 Azure Drake. So I will go ahead and put in 1 Azure Drake. And it does have... You know what, I think I will get rid of this. I'll go ahead and give myself another weapon. Just because weapons are always weapons are just pretty overpowered in general, in a good way. And I think... Should I get rid of Bloodlust? Yeah, you know what? All of my minions... I have a lot of cheap spells. I have a few medium level minions, and then the bulk of where I'm going to get to the point where I'm going to defeat my opponent is with my 4 to 6 cost minions, which I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 of. So I have 9 heavy more on them. Or excuse me, this is not a minion. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll just do the 5 cost. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I have 7 expensive minions that are very powerful. Earth Elemental. Wow, this card's great. Assuming they don't have something that can get rid of it immediately, assuming that your opponent is going to be forced to use the minions they already have out to trade with this minion to get rid of it, then the Overload, as long as the Overload makes it more than worth it. So it's actually an 8 cost card. And you know what? Even if this was just a minion that you place down without the Overload that was 8 cost, Taunt, 7 attack, 8 defense, that's a pretty fucking valuable card. So we're going to go ahead and keep that in there. So I have room for 2 more cards. Okay, so just trying to wrap things up here. Let's look at what we have so far in the deck. We have 3 spells that are extremely potent at the early game. Rockbiter Weapon is amazing for the first 3 to 4 turns. Lightning Bolt is also amazing for the first 3 to 4 turns. Earth Shock is useful throughout the entire game, but can entirely get rid of minions in the first 3 turns usually. Stormforge Axe is the same. Wind Fury is useful for kind of giving that element of surprise. Maybe when we want to suddenly finish off our opponent when they're not really expecting it, give them kind of a hidden upper hand. So this will be used later. Flame Tongue Totem, let's see. He has, how many does he have? He has 2. Alright, so same as me. Flame Tongue Totem is... As far as value goes for how much you spend and what you get, it's one of the most valuable cards in the entire game, I would have to say. Flame Tongue Totem is a 2 cost with a 0 health and 3, 0 attack and 3 health, but adjacent minions have +2 attack. So if we're playing in the early game, and this wouldn't really apply to us obviously because we don't have any early minions, but we do have the hero power, which allows us to summon a random 0/2 or 1/1 status totem. And then, so if we can get, let's say the first 3 turns we end up getting out 2 totems that are both 2/2 totems, and our opponent has 2 minions that are like, I don't know, 2/2 as well. Or so our totems are 0/2, his totems are, or minions are 2/2. If we play this in between our 2 totems, we now have by the start of the turn we have 2 minions that can attack, wipe his board, and then maybe we'd even be able to play another minion on top of this. So Flame Tongue Totem is kind of similar to Wind Fury in the instance that it is a nice surprise card. It can really shift the tide of the battle suddenly, and it's just very diverse and worth its cost. So he actually recommends having 2 Wild Pyromancers. Let's see, I only have 1. How much is it to forge one? Oh, come on. Oh, there it was. It costs 100 to create. May as well disenchant these extra cards. And alright, let's just see what we have so far. Maybe we'll come back and we'll get another one. So 3. So this is all from the 3 to the 1. We have 10, 19 cards that are very strong. We have a very strong early game and transition to mid game here. Defender of Argus obviously is a perfect transition card. It's our only 4 card, which is kind of fitting because it could be that perfect turn 3 or turn 4 card, depending on if we have the coin, which can transition us from the mid game to the late game, because it gives us, for the cost of 4, assuming we already have 2 minions on the field, it gives us +2 taunts, plus 2/2 in terms of overall field strength, and a 2/3 minion for the cost of 4. That's incredible. That is an absolutely incredible buff to our side of the field. So Defender of Argus is something that I've seen a lot of people say you should just run it in every single deck you have, and I agree with that. I don't necessarily do that just because I'm not good. But you should listen to me. You should still take my advice. Anyway, moving on. Doomhammer. Extremely potent, arguably the best weapon in the game, aside from maybe like Ashbringer. But Ashbringer, I think, only has 3 durability, where this has 8. And it contains a Wind Fury, which means every turn we can attack twice. We can do 2 separate hits for damage every turn. So instead of having to use, like, let's say, I can't remember what it's called right now for some reason. True Silver. Instead of having to use the True Silver Champion, the Paladin card, and deliver 4 damage to one specific target, we could deliver either 4 damage to one target or 2 damage to 2 separate targets, depending on what's more better for us in the situation. Okay, then we have Azir Drake. It's more spell power. Draw a card, it's good. Earth Elemental, as I explained earlier, extremely potent for its cost. 5 cost, that's insane. To get you out of a tough situation. Gadgets and Auctioneer is great when we have so many spells. Argent Commander, Karen Bloodhoof, Fire Elemental. So I think I'm considering going for another Gadgets and Auctioneer because it is a 4/4 minion, which is pretty decent. Kind of weak for its cost, but assuming that we are able to combine it with a few spells and draw more cards, then it becomes well over worth its initial value. Oh, I have none left. Okay, I guess I'm not going to do that. So I have 2 cards remaining. I think I will run a Faceless Manipulator. It's just, if your opponent pulls out Alexstrasza, or better yet, Ragnaros, or Tyrion, for that sake, you have a Faceless Manipulator. It costs less than legendaries, and it gives you a legendary. And then Do my own Alexstrasza. One left. Right now I have 19 cards that are 3 and below, and I have 10 cards that are 4 and above. You know what, I'll just go ahead and do another Argent Commander. Alright, now let's put this baby to the test, and we will see how I do. And of course we'll be left for the next part. So thank you so much for watching. Please continue the series if you think you've learned something, and now I'm going to put it to the test and hopefully prove to you that I do in fact know what I'm doing. So thanks again, see you in the next video.